Welcome back to the Glacial Gold Hunter. Today I got a new toy. Now this is what some people call a hand dredge. Now it's not really a dredge, it's just a PVC pipe. A dredge is what they use with some mechanical device, and you basically vacuum the bottom of the river and run it through a sluice. This is the same effect, so people call it a hand dredge, but it's a PVC sucker. And in the state of Minnesota where we are today, you can't use a dredge. So I'm not using a dredge, I'm using a PVC sucker. Nobody in their right mind would actually call this a dredge. Anyway, last year when I was here, I dug in this very spot. And if I remember correctly, there's kind of a pocket where there's some bedrock, like a bedrock nodule. And it was really difficult for me to actually scoop it out with the shovel. Now, if that's a pocket where gold is kind of going down and settling in that bedrock, that's a great place to find gold. That's a great place for it to deposit. But because the shovel is kind of shaped the way it is, it's really hard to get at the bottom and scoop up all that material. So if there is a speck of gold sitting, your odds of actually scooping it up with the shovel are kind of slim. That's where the PVC sucker comes in. So what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to dig down into that pocket and see if we can use this to suck up the very bottom of it. See what's there. Hopefully a big picker. Forgot my gold pan in the truck. Hold on.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
All right, I got my pans. Brought two of them just in case something happens. They've been known to float away. But let's take a few test pans and see if there's any gold that replenished. You can't see where I dug because I filled my hole, but maybe some more gold flecks spread around on top of where I filled. It's a big mushy mess of gravel and sands all the way down to silts. I didn't put all those fines back in the hole. They kind of ended up going back in there, so maybe it carried some gold with it. There's a little bit of black sand. Oh, and there is a little bit of gold in there. So right there is a decent speck of gold. Even though I filled my hole, there's still gold there. And then there's this thing, really metallic looking piece. I'm not sure what it is. It looks to be like a layer of hematite, like what you see in the banded iron formation, but I don't really know. You don't normally see it completely isolated like that. Interesting. So as long as there's at least a little bit of gold there, I'm just going to classify the overburden while we dig down to the base of our hole. You can see what I'm pulling out of the hole right there is just loaded with sugar sand. Like there's some bigger cobbles in there, but for the most part, it's just full of this really, really quartz-rich sugar sand. So I'm getting to the point where I can hear it scraping on what I think is a bedrock. You know, and I can't dig past that at all. I'm still coming up with this really fine sugar sand. So for now, I'm just going to leave the hole open. I'm going to pan through the bucket I panned, and then I'm going to suck this out and see what's at the bottom of that hole. Should be able to pan through that super quick. Now I have people all the time giving me advice on how to pan, and they say, don't shake it in circles like that. Well, I'll tell you what, if I get a pan full of material and it's kind of stuck there, shaking it in circles kind of loosens it up. It helps it come free from the bottom, and then I'll go side to side. So I do both. I go circles and I go side to side. As long as you're creating liquefaction, the gold should settle to the bottom. Once the gold is to the bottom, then it kind of matters whether you do a side to side or a circle, because then that's putting the gold in a certain spot in the pan. But I don't see any problem with doing circles as I'm starting to loosen it up. Then I shake it. And if you think otherwise, you can put that in the comments. It still helps the algorithm. And that bucket just had one speck of gold in there. All right, so I think I've scooped all about I can out of here, and it's good hard bedrock there. And it's really hard to scrape everything off of there. See, I'm just getting a little bit. So from this point, I'm gonna switch over to my sucker. Set up my pan right there. And I think I just take it and go. Make sure I don't blow it out of the pan here. Just like so. And I vacuum up everything that's in that hole. Everything that the shovel can't get should get sucked into that, barring the bigger rocks. Now I bought this thing off of High Plains Prospectors, and it's literally just straight up PVC pipe. Just same old PVC pipe you can buy at any hardware store. And there's a whole bunch of videos that teach you how to make them. But my homemade inventions haven't been working out the best for me. So I just kind of wanted to get something that would work. And it's either your time or your money. So in this case, I just chose to put out a little bit of money and buy one. Uh-oh. Jammed up. Today's episode is brought to you by Leatherman. I wish. All right, so there's that material that was sitting right on the bedrock. Let's see if there's any gold in it. All right, let's see what we got. I've been waiting all year to vacuum out this hole. Oh my gosh. Not one speck. Aww. Absolutely nothing. Well, that was a little bit of a letdown. I think these things are probably pretty site specific, like a limited use opportunity type thing, but it was worth a try. So in the meantime, I'm gonna dig around in places I haven't dug before. Maybe I'll find another pocket to try it in, or we'll just keep filling buckets and see how much gold we can get today. So right here are some pretty big boulders, and I figure it looks like a pretty good spot for gold to settle. So I'm gonna try to dig out under and around these. All right, we're hunting under the boulders now. Look at that. Way underneath that big boulder. Broken glass. You know what that means?
Man was in the forest.
Oh my gosh. Another piece. Probably the same piece. Just same piece. Oh my gosh, I could have died. Next time I'll bring my hard hat. Not a single speck under that boulder. Underneath that boulder, it's really super sandy. So I think we need to find an area where there's a little bit bigger gravels. Now, this is not a very big creek. It's pretty small. You can see on this side, that's completely all sand, a big sandbar. Over here, there's some sand and gravels. See if I can dig in here and see what's there. So that looks like more coarse sand mixed with gravels, cobbles. Let's test that. Uh-oh, whoops. Doggone it.
Doggone it.
Things I go through for camera work around here. Holy cow, look at that. It's an old Indian artifact. I don't think it's quite the look I'm going for. Oh my gosh, not a single speck. Not doing so hot today. Well, let's take a little field trip. Now this creek is interesting because I'm not sure which parts are man-made or man-altered or natural. I think there's a fair bit of alteration that has gone on in this creek. You can see here, right here, here's like a remnants of an old block wall. And that could maybe control the flow of the creek. But clearly there is some accumulation of gold because I found it here before. But if there's been a lot of man-made alteration, then maybe I'm digging in the churned up stuff that hasn't had time to lay down a string of gold yet. So I don't really know. But it's a pretty steep valley wall. Let's take a little hike up here. You can see here's some more mixture of some rock and some mortar. So that's man-made. Some kind of man-made structure right here. Almost looks like man-made steps going up here. And then here's some natural bedrock. You can see this is all sandstone. This is the St. Peter sandstone. Super pure quartz sandstone, very well-rounded, fine sandstone. People come and they carve their names in this stuff. You can see the layers of strata right there. Some are a little darker because they have a little more iron, and others are a little lighter because they have a little less iron. But there surely wouldn't be any gold in this sand. This would have all been beach sand deposits or shallow seas. It was all kind of rolled around. That's why it's so well rounded. Back when Minnesota and Wisconsin had oceanfront property. Now here's kind of an interesting feature of geomorphology. Geomorphology is a study of the topography of the earth. And what you see here is an example of hill creep. You can see how this tree is kind of rotated a little bit, how it's kind of bent as it goes straight up. That's because this slope is so steep that as it's creeping, the tree is actually twisting and growing up. So they can measure kind of the rate that the slope is creeping down by how much twist is in the tree. It's pretty subtle here, but definitely an example. Some hill creep is really fast and the trees are just bent like crazy. And that's specifically where Home Depot sources its lumber. All right, let's get back to it. I'm back on the creek and I'm gonna search around until I actually find some gold. I'll show you when I do. Well, I've been searching all over this creek and honestly, I can't find another speck. And I gotta believe there's more gold than just that one spot I was digging before. So far, I found 2 specks. And my buddy Jim says every time he goes out, he's hoping to get at least 4 specks. So I'm gonna keep searching until I get my 4 specks. For whatever reason, this little pocket here seems to be the only spot I can find gold. So I'm gonna scrape all the dirt I can around there, fill up another bucket, and hopefully I can end up with my 4 specks for the day. So I just pulled out a flat piece of stone with mortar on it. I wonder if there was a wall here at one time. There's another piece right there. Looks like it might have mortar on it. For all I know, I'm digging underneath a man-made structure into an ancient riverbed, and everything else was man-made. I don't know. Maybe that's why this is the only spot I find gold. I am in a pretty urban area, Twin Cities mining, so you never really know what you're gonna find. It's weird. Now I think I'm digging past what I thought was bedrock. It's probably just digging onto an old wall. So now it feels like I'm on bedrock again. Oh, I did it. I found my 4 specks. I think there's 4 specks in this pan alone. Anything more than that, and it's a bonus. There's 2 specks right there. And then 1, 2, 3, 4 more specks there, maybe 5 specks there. So it's really strange, but the only place I can find gold is right there. And I dug up a man-made block right there, and if you look in the water, there's another man-made block. Upstream there is a wall, and I'm kind of wondering if at one time that wall continued all the way through here. And maybe I'm digging underneath the wall or on the other side of the wall into native riverbed. And I know upstream, if I go farther, that whole part of the river's been rerouted. It's all man-altered. And if I come up here, you can see this man-made wall again. And that goes up around the river there. And then back down there, that's where I was digging. So maybe that has something to do with the way the gold is laid out here. I don't really know. I just know it's at one spot that I seem to find gold. I'll add that to my concentrate bucket. And I think I'm gonna run through 1 more bucket. That'll make it 3 buckets of material. I'm kind of a 3 buckets of material guy. So now it's to the point where I can't really dig. And I think instead of bedrock, it's probably just those blocks at the base of that block wall. It's really, really hard to scoop much out of there. So I may as well use my sucker again. Let's suck out a pan and see if it shows any promise. Seems to have got jammed, but I think... well, you're supposed to be able to take this off. Oh, there it goes. There we go. So it's not the easiest to suck stuff up, but easier than shoveling. I couldn't have got that. That was too far down there. Let's pan it out. Again, not one speck. Well, if nothing else, that'd be a fun water fight. Well, not too much success with this thing today, but I got one more crick that I want to try it on. And I think it's good to have just for those situations where you need to suck something out of a little kettle or a dish, a hole in the rock. But I think I'll only take this out if I know I'm going to need it. It won't be a part of my everyday toolkit. Well, I just did a little bit more panning and got one more speck for the bucket. So I'll take my little bit of classifieds home and we'll go count our specks one by one. Look at that. 6 cents. So we really don't have a lot of material to go through, so I'm just gonna dump it in here. Actually, rewind, redo. I'm gonna strain it right into my pan and then we'll pan it. Do some with my broken glass and I'll make sure I keep my 6 cents. And there's no need for a cleanup sluice for this little amount. I'll just pan it on back and count the specks. Looks like about 22 specks. I think that's what I counted. You guys can double check for me. Well, we didn't find the mother lode today, but we found 22 specks that we didn't have before. And we still had a good time in the creek. It's always a good time even if we don't find too much, but at least we didn't get skunked. Thank you guys for coming along. Come on back for the next one. Bye-bye.